All right, listen to this. New data shows U.S. consumer confidence declined in April.
You know, Errol and I love the numbers, so we'll give them to you now. The Conference Board's Consumer Confidence Index was 101.3 in April, and that's down just slightly from 104 in March. Now, this is also the third time in just 4 months that we have seen a decline.
Joining us now is Courtenay Brown. She's a markets reporter at Axios, and she joins us now. I think you're here, and I can't read. My eyesight is so bad. Where are you? Where are you, Courtenay? And tell us what's causing this decline.
I am in London, actually, where consumers are similarly very downbeat about the state of the economy. As far as the U.S. is concerned, though, consumers have been pretty pessimistic about the economy for a while now. It's definitely been on the upswing since, last summer when gas prices were really high, but there's still really high inflation. There are a lot of jitters about what's ahead for the U.S. economy, whether or not we're going to enter a recession. And I think all of those things might explain why we're seeing some softening in consumer confidence.
Courtenay, talk to us about the present situation index. I think most people are familiar with consumer confidence, not familiar with that, even though it ticked up in April. Explain to our viewers what it is and the difference between these readings.
Sure. So there are a lot of different ways to measure consumer confidence. This particular measure that we're talking about is compiled by two different indices. One that asks consumers, how do you feel about the economy right now? And another that asks consumers, how will you feel about the economy in the future? So right now, consumers are feeling pretty decent about the current state of the economy. We actually saw that index move up modestly. Where you saw some softness was about what's ahead for the economy. And generally speaking, this is a really good theme. This really speaks to the key theme for the U.S. economy right now. The current economy is fine. The job market is chugging along. The unemployment rate is low. It's a record low for Black Americans. But there are a lot of questions about what's going to happen in the future. How much will the Fed need to raise interest rates to contain inflation? And how much will the economy and the labor market need to slow as a result to contain inflation, if at all? So those are the big questions I'm sure a lot of consumers have about the economy right now.
Yeah. And in our last moment with you, Courtenay, I know we're expecting GDP numbers out this week with fewer people buying things, with confidence down. Where do you expect it to land?
So if economists' estimates are right, GDP should come in at about a 2% annualized rate for the first quarter. That's a little bit of a slowdown from 2.6% in the final 3 months of last year, but it's still a pretty good number. Again, we just talked about all the questions for what's ahead for the economy. So remember, this GDP figure we're getting is a backward-looking indicator. So there are going to be a lot of questions about what growth looks like for the rest of this year and whether that can be maintained.
So if you're leaving a party and people are asking you why, just say your present situation index has declined and you've got to bounce. That's how I'm going to use that in life.
Oh, I like it.
So Courtenay, overall then, what does this mean for us? Are these worrying signs or signs that we would expect for the economy right now?
What's really interesting about the consumer confidence figures, I mentioned that they had been kind of pessimistic, downbeat for a while, but it looks like now that downbeat confidence may actually be translating into consumers cutting back on spending. We got the retail sales report for March, and it showed that retail sales declined outright by 1%. That's the second straight month of a decline. I mean, up until now, the consumer had been rock solid. Despite their sadnesses about the economy, they were spending all the same. That looks to be changing. So that's definitely something to watch. As I'm sure you and your viewers know, consumer spending is the bedrock of the economy. It's 70% of economic output. So it really, really matters what consumers do. It affects the overall economy.
Of course. All right. Courtenay Brown, thanks.
Thanks, Courtenay.
Thanks.